Hello guys, today I decided to bring to you all Oreo cookies or Oreo biscuit recipe. So I went out, bought this particular Oreo cookies at 750 naira in the supermarket here in Nigeria. So when I bought it, I went through the ingredients used in making the cookies, and then I also looked at the cookies very well. Then I went into work, and my turnout, the result was amazing. So I'm here to share this cookie recipe with you all. Relax and enjoy this video. So first I started with 50 grams of margarine or vegetable fat. Yes, because that is specifically what the recipe says, vegetable fat and not butter. So I started with 50 grams of margarine or vegetable fat, and I made sure that I creamed this thoroughly. So after creaming this vegetable fat, as you can see, I made sure that I creamed it very well. I added half teaspoon of chocolate flavor. You can also use vanilla flavor because that is what the recipe suggested, vanilla flavor, but I used chocolate flavor. Then I added 1 tablespoon of corn flour, followed by half tablespoon of liquid glucose or glucose syrup as suggested by the recipe. Then I make sure I cream everything thoroughly. Then I added my caster sugar. Make sure you use caster sugar or sugar that doesn't have hard or big granules. Okay, so I started with 30 grams of the sugar and later added the extra 30 grams, making it 60 grams of caster sugar. After that, I added 1/8 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. Then in a separate container or bowl, I measured out 120 grams of all-purpose flour and 30 grams of cocoa powder, unsweetened cocoa powder. Okay, and then I sifted this cocoa powder and the flour mixture into the buttercream. After combining the flour cocoa powder mixture with the buttercream, I went in with 30 grams of vegetable oil. Okay, I went in with 30 grams of vegetable oil. Make sure that I mixed everything thoroughly. So after I have mixed everything to form crumbs, just like when you make short crust pastry, then I went in with some liquid milk. To form the dough, I added about 3 tablespoons of liquid milk. Okay, I made sure that I use this liquid milk to mix everything together to form a perfect dough. After forming my dough, I discovered that it was a little bit crumbly. Then I added extra half tablespoon of liquid milk and combined everything together. Then my dough was ready. I went ahead and wrapped this dough, let it sit or let it rest for at least 20 to 30 minutes. After that, then I went ahead, placed the dough on a non-sticky or baking paper, placed another baking paper or non-stick paper on it and roll it out. So you need to roll this dough out to be flat but not too flat. Okay, you don't want your dough to be too thin so that it won't have that kind of weight or something like that. So you need to be flat but not too flat, or thin but not too thin. So once I was done rolling out my dough, just as you see in the video, I went ahead and cut this dough into circular shapes. So there is something I use this particular cutter that I have to cut it because I needed something that will be the exact size of the Oreos. So I found out that gave me the exact size of the Oreos. Then again, I needed to have a design of the Oreos on my cookies, and I used one of the Oreos that I bought to make impressions on each of my Oreo cookie cutouts. Okay, as you can see how beautiful the impressions are. I couldn't find any cookie cutter that have this impression, so I had to think of what to do, and this was what came into my mind, and I did it and it worked. So after making these impressions, I transferred these cookies on my baking tray and then popped into my preheating oven and baked it in the oven. So while it was baking, I went ahead and cut the rest of the cookie dough. So like if you don't have the first cutter I use and you have this particular round cutter, you can use either of the both sides, and that's it. So I bake this in preheated oven at 170 degrees for 25 minutes. For the second recipe, I decided to remove some of the ingredients used in the first recipe and use some. So I started with 25 grams of vegetable fat or margarine. To that I added half teaspoon of chocolate flavor. Like I said, you can replace this with vanilla flavor. Then I added half tablespoon of corn flour and I mixed everything thoroughly to form a buttercream. Once the buttercream was formed, I added half tablespoon of icing or confectioner sugar or powdered sugar. Okay, this also added a lot of taste and to the buttercream. The next, I went in with 20 grams of all-purpose flour and 10 grams of unsweetened cocoa powder. I sifted this into the buttercream and then mixed everything together. After mixing everything, I discovered that the dough was a little bit tacky, so I added extra 5 grams of all-purpose flour and everything was set. Once the dough was set, just like I did before, I rolled out this dough on my non-sticky paper and then cut it out, made my impressions on the dough, and I baked. After making the impressions on the dough, I baked these cookies in my preheated oven at 170 degrees for 25 minutes and they turn out amazing. When they're out of the oven, they're going to be so soft, then you're going to allow them to cool down completely to become crunchy. So while they are cooling down, I went ahead and made my cookie cream. So I started with margarine, although this particular recipe or this particular cookie cream needs the use of butter, but I didn't have butter at the moment, so I used margarine. So I measured out and creamed thoroughly 20 grams of margarine, and to that I started adding in the icing sugar or confectioner sugar or powder sugar gradually, little at a time. So I started with just 1 tablespoon of icing sugar. After adding the 1 tablespoon of icing sugar and creaming thoroughly, I added extra 4 tablespoons of icing sugar. Then I made sure that I creamed this thoroughly as well. I went in with half teaspoon of mixed zest flavor. You can as well use vanilla flavor for this recipe. After adding the mixed zest flavor, I added extra 4 tablespoons of icing sugar. Okay, then I added the last 2 tablespoons of icing sugar, so making it a total of 12 tablespoons of icing sugar for the 20 grams of margarine that I used for this cookie cream. Okay, so once my cookie cream came out this way, non-sticking, you can see that it is almost cleaning the inside of the bowl, and it's not going to be sticking to your hands when you mold it. That is when you know that your cookie cream is ready. So I went ahead. This is my cookies. My cookies have cooled down completely, and I'm ready to put my cookie cream in between and ready to munch these Oreo cookies. Like, now the reason my Oreo cookies were not that dark brown in color was because I couldn't find the dark cocoa powder, so I found the light colored cocoa powder, so I used it. But if you can get the dark cocoa powder or sweetened cocoa powder, the dark cocoa powder, the turnout will be amazing in color. But for the taste and for the outcome, I love it. So I'll be waiting for you to try out this recipe and let me know in the comment section how it turned out for you. And I know it's going to turn out amazing, either the first recipe or the second recipe. They are both going to turn out amazing for you. So guys, without wasting much of your time, just look out for my next Oreo recipes, my Oreo cream and cookie cake recipe and my Oreo buttercream or cream and cookie recipe. So relax and enjoy all the videos I have in stock for you. Till then, it's a bye from me.